We've seen how over-reliance on trade with certain powers of the world has rendered us so fatally vulnerable that we are now dependent on their mood swings. They determine what happens on the African continent. And this is because we've allowed ourselves to fall into a trap of self-loathing, where we've hated not just ourselves but our neighbors on the African continent. We've refused, we've been reluctant to trade with each other, to see and recognize each other's worth. We've come to that point, that inflection point in our history, when we must recognize that we need each other. We need each other desperately as African countries, as Africans. We must reach out.
Begins.
With the winds of change came the conclusion of the Botswana De Beers diamond deal, a defining moment for a country whose brilliance has long come from beneath its soil. For 6 decades, diamonds have told Botswana's story. The new deal is not just about mining stones, it is about mining opportunity. It asserts Botswana's place in the value chain to ensure that every gem that leaves her soil carries a story of pride, not dependency.
We have us a good deal, and we trust that it will carry us well into the future. To the people of Botswana, this partnership, this agreement is about you. It's about the jobs that you need. It's about the hope that you must have in your country. It's about the faith and confidence you must have in the institutions that this country has. We send a message to the world. Botswana is the best place on the African continent to do business. Botswana is the best place to locate your offices, your factories.
And beyond her borders, Botswana's voice grew louder. At the 2025 United Nations General Assembly, President Boko's voice rose among the chorus of nations. He spoke not as a newcomer, but as a leader of a nation reborn. He relaunched to the world a Botswana ready to build, ready to lead, and ready to shine.
We are better together in combating pandemics, better together in adapting to climate change, better together in securing peace, and better together in ensuring that human dignity is not a preserve of the few, but the inheritance of all. Let us therefore recommit ourselves to multilateralism, not as a matter of convenience, but as a matter of deep necessity. For none of us can weather the storms of this century alone. Friends and partners in the Permanent Five, it is time to make good on your promise to a continent. Agree a permanent seat on the UN Security Council for Africa for 80 years, the only continent without one.
1 year into the presidency of Duma Gideon Boko, a serious national conversation is unfolding in Botswana. It is not a conversation about fashion, personality, or social media presence. It is a conversation about leadership, priorities, and expectations. Across communities, online platforms, and political circles, many citizens are asking a simple but powerful question. Is the government focused on the issues that truly matter to ordinary people? Botswana is a nation with a proud democratic tradition and a population that values dignity, accountability, and steady development. When expectations are not met, the people speak, and right now, they are speaking loudly. When President Boko took office, hopes were high. Many Botswana believed a new chapter was opening one, defined by economic renewal, youth empowerment, and a government that listens closely to the people. Citizens expected urgent action on unemployment, especially among young people. They expected relief from rising living costs, stronger public services, and a renewed fight against corruption and inequality. For many voters, this was not just a change of leadership, but a chance for transformation. A belief that Botswana could modernize while still holding firmly onto its values of humility, responsibility, and national service. Over time, however, a different narrative began to emerge. Critics argue that the president appears increasingly focused on how he looks, how he speaks, and how he is perceived, rather than on visible development outcomes. Social media discussions frequently point to expensive sunglasses, designer outfits, imported boots, and a carefully curated youthful image. To some, this represents modern leadership. To others, it feels disconnected from daily struggles. Communities facing water shortages, unemployment, and limited infrastructure say symbolism alone cannot build roads, create jobs, or put food on the table. The message from critics is clear: presentation must never replace performance. Public frustration has not been limited to online spaces. Political voices, including figures linked to the Botswana Congress Party, have openly criticized what they describe as misplaced priorities. 2 recent holidays taken by the president, one overseas and another in South Africa, sparked backlash at a time when many citizens feel the country needs urgent, hands-on leadership. For struggling families, such moments reinforce the perception that leadership is becoming distant from the realities on the ground. Another debate centers on the president's public persona. Some citizens claim he has adopted a more American-style accent and informal mannerisms since assuming office. Supporters interpret this as humility and relatability, a break from rigid political tradition. Critics, however, argue that Botswana values institutional dignity and that the office of president carries symbolic weight beyond individual personality. This debate is not about how a leader speaks. It is about whether the office itself is being treated with the seriousness and respect the nation expects. When listening closely to public sentiment, one truth stands out. People are not angry about clothes. They are concerned about outcomes. Citizens say they want jobs and economic stability, youth skills, development and opportunity, stronger public service delivery, clear anti-corruption measures, a leadership vision that prioritizes national needs over personal branding. As one widely shared statement puts it, "We are not hungry for fashion. We are hungry for development." This debate in Botswana reflects a wider African challenge. Across the continent, citizens are increasingly demanding leadership that delivers results, not just speeches or symbolism. Pan-Africanism has always emphasized dignity, self-determination, and responsibility to the people. Leaders are seen not as celebrities, but as servants of national progress. In this context, Botswana's conversation is part of a larger African awakening, where voters are more informed, more vocal, and less patient with underperformance. It is important to note that perception does not always equal reality. Governments often work on long-term projects that are not immediately visible. However, leadership is also about communication, reassurance, and showing empathy during difficult times. When citizens feel unheard or unseen, trust erodes regardless of intentions. The challenge for President Boko is not only to deliver results, but to convince citizens that their struggles are his priority. Botswana stands at a critical moment. The nation is not rejecting modern leadership, it is demanding meaningful leadership. This is a call, not for image management, but for visible progress. Not for personality, but for policy. Not for branding, but for nation building.
Hello Africa, brothers and sisters, there's something going on in Botswana. After emerging as a new hero of Botswana, a game changer of Botswana, some calling him a Southern Traore, right now President Duma Gideon Boko is facing criticism from the public. Some are asking, did we vote for a president or for a fashion icon? They expected President Duma Gideon Boko to lower the cost of living, to produce jobs, to create trust to the government institutions by improving services, to make sure that people are enjoying their resources. But it looks like right now, for 1 year, President Duma Gideon Boko has failed. Let us ask ourselves why it looks like President Duma Gideon Boko has failed. Is it true President Duma Gideon Boko spent a lot of time for him to be like a youth, to buy goods that will make him look like a youth? Is it true? Maybe his cutting style of hair, maybe jeans that maybe he wear. Why right now people are criticizing their president? Why they elected him with a lot of hope of jobs, hope of good life, hope of good and quality health services? Why it looks like President Boko has failed? I want all of us to dive deep into this matter. Show me an African country where a democratically elected president that praised by the West has provided good results. Show me any African country that this country, this leader is being celebrated by the West, that is a good leader, is a democratically elected leader, and things is okay. Tell me, no such kind of country. Why? Because democracy is not designed for Africa to succeed. The people of Botswana will elect another leader, but nothing will change. Because democracy is a project designed to make sure that Africa will fail. If you talk about, maybe people may say about Rwanda, tell me, is Kagame a democratic leader? Okay, maybe we are talking about Africa. Go to Europe, go to America. Right now, America is in control of Venezuelan oil. Is that a democracy? So there's no any Western democracy that will solve African challenges. So family, brothers and sisters, do we need to blame President Duma Gideon Boko for failing to deliver jobs, for failing to lower the cost of living? Do we need to blame President Boko? Oh, there's something that we don't know. I think there's something that we as Africans, we don't know. Democracy brought it to Africa to make sure that Africa is going to fail. African countries are going to fail. That was the purpose and the purpose of democracy. Show me an African country that is democratic that have succeeded. We are almost 60 years after independence. Show me an African country that is democratic and thinks is okay. Show me. No. No one. If you look at democracy, we elect not just the presidents, we elect supervisors, whom the supervisors to learn the colonial agendas. So we can blame President Boko, wherever we can blame him, but no any democratic government that will succeed in the continent of Africa. Because democracy was designed purposely to make sure that African countries are going to fail. The only salvation for Africa is to find our own democracy, not Western democracy. See, the way we elect leaders in many African countries, they count votes. So those who get high number is the one who become a president. But look in America, despite many others are voting, but votes are being the Senate that few people, almost not more than 500, who sit down and elect leader. That's how it is supposed to be. So these majorities, you know, that's why you see people are claiming that votes are being rigged, there's maybe stealing of votes. All those things is because of these systems. And that systems is there to make sure that after election, we fight each other. And if we don't fight each other, the president will not succeed. That's what is happening. And especially to those presidents who tried to challenge systems. You know, when President Boko came to power, he said he wants the people of Botswana to benefit from their diamond, claimed that he wants to increase the share of government entity from the beer multinational company operating in diamond in Botswana. You see, and of course, President Boko was right, but those who are beneficiaries of the diamond are not happy. They will make sure that President Boko is failing. Recently, you heard IMF warned President Boko that if you try to take all share of the beer or take share of your diamond, your economy is going to collapse. That was a warning that don't control your resources. Allow others to control resources. These people are very intelligent. They bring us globalization, that you are free to come and to go somewhere. They know very well that you African, you cannot go to America and invest in American oil. What kind of globalization are you talking about? They have this something called AGOA. When they feel that you are violating what they want, they remove you from AGOA. You cannot sell goods to America. So even globalization is not for Africa. Tell me any African people who is investing in American oil. Show me. Or African company who is investing in American oil. You saw what happened in Venezuela. Can African company go to America and asking Trump that I want also to invest in Venezuelan oil? Can America allow that? If America is chasing China and Russia, can you, Africa, be allowed? So you can see these systems are on place purposely to make sure that no one will succeed. So, yes, President Boko has been blamed because the president, but he will do nothing. I'm telling you the truth. Nothing will change. And as long as he's being praised by the West, he's still in love with the West, until the West stop loving you, that's why you will say, I'm doing something. But as long as the West loving you, show that you are a good leader, it means you are serving the interest. If you start serving the interest of Africans, that's where the trouble started. So I'm sharing this for you Africans, fellow Africans, to understand that we need our own governance systems. And to implement governance systems that is our own, we need unity among Africans. Because if we don't come together and defend those systems will fail, and they will say, you see, we said Africans cannot govern themselves. Africans, they know nothing. Africans are failing people. And that's what they want to to narrate and to portray. So President Boko will continue to face challenges, and one thing that I see in the future is to make sure that President Boko moving out of what he thought he has to do and thinking about a coming election. So they are changing the minds of people. So people want to concentrate on how they can remove President Boko instead of focusing on supporting President Boko. Boko himself cannot succeed. He needs people, he needs support from his citizens, from the public. But what right now is happening, they are grabbing and taking attention from him, from the people, so that the people can start hating President Boko, coming to the streets, protesting, and then they will remove President Boko. That is the mission. They use our people, they use the political parties, ruling party, opposition parties, to make sure that there is unstable in the country. That's how the system operates. So family, let us not speak for too long. Thank you for watching. I'm here in my homeland, and of course we are sharing a few things on what is going on in Africa and how we can solve those challenges. We are trying to find best solutions for challenges, but all in all, we need to be vigilant. We need to be vigilant and to look on what we can do as Africans. So we need bright brains that can set things on the ground. African Union, these regional bodies, they are there for the interest of few. But so if we had a serious African Union and these regional bodies, we already have our own governance systems, not democracy. No, that's why when you hear America talking about democracy, the same African Union saying the same things. So it's like copy and paste. So we need regional bodies, continental body that is generating ideas to their subordinates and to their members that, you know, we want to move in this direction. We want to move in this direction as Africans. So family, brothers and sisters, after that, have a nice time. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make African great. Thank you, freedom. Thank you, Africa.